Hey everyone, it's time for my weekly college basketball top 10. And this week we have another undefeated going down. It is not Arizona. Arizona stays undefeated. They move to 21-0. They beat BYU on the road in Provo. They also get a home win against West Virginia. Um, Arizona Wildcats looking very good. Freshman Braden Burries had a big game against BYU. The backcourt with him and Jaden Bradley just too much up in Provo for the Cougars. So Arizona's number one. At number two, I have Michigan. Michigan is 19-1. They get the home win against Nebraska, which was a big showdown game. Nebraska was shorthanded. They were without Rink Mass, their starting center, and they were without Braden Fager, 6'6" freshman wing player who is a key contributor for them. And still, the Huskers kept it close. This is a good win for Michigan, though. They get the 3-point win at home. Now they have Friday at Michigan State, which will be super tricky for them. Tough games back to back for the Wolverines, but right now at 19-1, they got to be the number two team in the country. At number three, I have another 19-1 team, and that is the Duke Blue Devils, who won Monday against Louisville. Duke wins by 31. So they beat Wake Forest over the weekend by 21. They continue to look impressive. As long as they have Cam Boozer healthy, Isaiah Evans making shots, Caleb Foster playing well, and Patrick Gungba staying out of foul trouble, Duke is going to be really hard to beat. The ACC doesn't provide as many challenges as the Big 12 and the SEC and the Big 10 does. But as long as Duke's winning and winning very impressively, I would say, as opposed to one of the other teams we'll talk about, Duke's going to stay up in the top five for sure. At number four, I have 17-2 Houston. Now, I know they're coming off a loss at Texas Tech, 4-point loss to the Red Raiders, but I still think Houston is one of those teams that I would trust at this point in the season. I have them ahead of one loss UConn. I think Houston's backcourt with Kingston Flemings, the freshman, and who put up a 40-piece in that game against Texas Tech. I think Houston, when it comes down to the end of the year, will be one of those Final Four teams standing. So no reason to doubt that still. They go to TCU Wednesday tonight. That's today, the 28th. Assuming they can win that one, they should rattle off a couple in a row again, and they'll get into February with just the two losses. As I said, number five, I have UConn. Now, UConn just has the one loss. They're 20-1. Their only loss is to Arizona. So, very impressive resume. They've beaten Illinois. They beat Kansas. They beat Florida. But I'm looking more so at the last few games, and they have struggled against Seton Hall, Georgetown, Villanova, who's playing well, took them to overtime in Connecticut. And then another home game last night, they struggled with Providence, who is not a great team. So UConn right now is 13th in KenPom. So the metrics don't love UConn. I still buy them. Danny Hurley, elite coach. They have a great roster. So I think they will still, again, be in the mix to make it to the Final Four. So I have them at number five. At number six, I have Nebraska. I dropped them this week. They lost the other night, like I said, to Michigan 75-72. Again, against a top two team without two players, two big pieces, and you only lose by three. Super impressive from Nebraska. Hated to drop them. Honestly, it probably didn't even have to, but we'll see how they respond. Now, they have a home game against Illinois next. Huge, huge game for them to bounce back. We'll have to see on Sunday if they get Mast and Frager back. But right now, Huskers sitting at 20-1. Number seven, I have Iowa State. Iowa State has two losses. They were back-to-back. They were in Kansas and in Cincinnati. They rebounded most recently with wins over UCF and Oklahoma State. They do get Colorado and Kansas State coming up next, who are both below 80 in KenPom. So Iowa State should handle business there before things get a little bit tougher later in February. But I continue to like Iowa State. They're fifth in KenPom. I think those two losses, because they came back to back, felt bigger than they actually are. I still like the Cyclones. Got two teams ahead of them in my rankings, two teams in that top 10 ranking in KenPom. Michigan State currently sits at number 6. They've rattled off some wins in a row. Again, they haven't played anybody above 30th in KenPom since January 2nd. So they haven't truly been tested until Friday when they host Michigan, the rivalry game. That should be awesome. Can't wait to see Jeremy Fears versus Elliot Cadeau, Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper versus Yaxel Lendenberg and Adai Mara and Merez Johnson. Like, that's going to be a great game. I expect Cohen Carr possibly to be a difference maker in that. And then Michigan State has also been playing Divine Ogachukwu. He got the start last night, and that's going to be an interesting development. So those wing players on both teams could be X factors in that game. At number 9, I brought in the Illinois Fighting Illini. They're 17-3. They haven't lost since Nebraska in the December 13th, and they've been rattling off some wins. They get the big win at Purdue last weekend. Freshman Keaton Wagler went nuts with 46 points, and he's really elevated their potential. I think their upside is much higher now than we maybe originally thought it was. And again, their losses are to Alabama, UConn, and Nebraska, all happening before Christmas. So Illinois is playing really well. They get Washington later this week, and then Sunday they have Nebraska in Lincoln, which will be a huge game for both teams. And at number 10, a return to my top 10 for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, 21-1. I ding them a little bit because they hadn't played great basketball lately, including Saturday only beating San Francisco by 2. However, when you're 19-1 and your only loss is to number 2 Michigan, and you've beaten Alabama, you've beaten Kentucky, you've beaten UCLA, it's pretty hard to not rank you. So I got Gonzaga at 10. Couple teams falling out this week. Vanderbilt they lost 3 in a row, though they did right themselves big time with a win against Kentucky last night. Florida actually is creeping back up into that top 10 territory as well. Their losses early in the year were all to really good teams. They're playing much better. They're getting better contributions from their backcourt now. And BYU dropped out as well. BYU with their 3rd loss of the year. They've lost 2 of their last 3. They lost to Texas Tech and Arizona. So that's my college basketball top 10 for the week of January 28th.